All right. Okay. All right. That's um Idris, please in the meantime, do mute your mic because I noticed that you're still yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so let's jump right back to Unity and see what's going on. I'm trying to start up the project. Okay, so wait for the project to load up. Yeah. So in the last class we talked about we're putting together an endless runner. So we will continue that from here. And then we'll see how far we can take it from there. While we wait for the project to open, I wanted to I wanted to find out if any one of us have started working on the project or the endless runner project, because I think that would be the assignment for this week, and then we will start working on Android development, developing for Android. So, has anyone started working on? Has anyone started working on the project? Following along with what we have so far. You can unmute your mics and respond. Okay, yeah. Um, I don't know which of these is your first name, Odinakachuku or Ede. I'm not sure. I think Odinakachuku should be here. Yeah, you can respond. You can unmute yourself and reply.
Okay, Odnakachu is my first name. Odnakachu is my Ede is my surname.
Oh, okay.
So, according to as far as the assignment from the question that you asked, as far as the assignment is concerned, I have started. Although
Okay.
I had inconsistency of light, but I've started with my assignment. Then there's an idea that I had within myself because in as much as we are actually creating this thing for learning purposes, I also
Okay.
wanted to launch mine. So I started iterating ideas for my own game, and I look
Okay.
forward to I look forward to posting this thing on launching this game on Play Store, no matter how it's going to be. So I'm iterating, I'm writing out how I'm going to design the UI with Figma and Photoshop, then
All right.
also make custom made 3D models from the Blender skills that I've already learned from the previous
Okay.
class. Probably I'll send out my design to the groups so
Oh,
that
okay.
you people will see it. Just like the idea conception, that is the stage that I'm into at the moment. So the essence of that's the bringing 3D models from maybe like Access Store and all these things. In as much as it's okay, but
Yeah.
to a reasonable extent in terms of customization of the game, even if it's like an endless runner,
All right.
I don't even fancy that bringing important assets from Unity Access Store. So I would like to make my own kind of endless runner themed, maybe like African themed or Enugu State themed kind of. That is the idea that I'm going forward to. So to be able to drive it home very well, so that it will be specific for a targeted demography. So that is like my own idea conception, which is what I have in mind. Probably after the end of the class, I may be able to launch it. So I've started maybe like on a large scale, maybe even if it's like less or slightly beyond maybe like the class activities. But that is what I have in mind to be able to create something like that. But for the whole process, in terms of following along, I have started with my own. At least I've created my Unity file. Then I've started working hard towards ensuring that I complete it at least before next week by special
Uh,
grace of God. So that is
uh,
like the whole thing for me.
all right. All right. All right. That's cool. That makes sense. That makes sense. That's very good. Um, Okay. The reason why we're using assets from the Unity Asset Store is because I I can't sit down and start creating assets. It's for learning purposes, and I'm just trying to explain how gameplay programming and game design works. All right. So that's why, so that we won't waste any time. Okay. So you already took the Blender course. Okay. So you can, as you said, create your Blender assets and then bring them to Unity and use them. All I'm explaining all I'm doing is telling you how to use already made assets. So you can work on assets on your own, create it using Blender or whatever 3D software you can, bring in your UI from Photoshop or Figma, and then start working on them. All I'm doing is teaching us how to use the Unity game engine with all of these assets. Okay, so that's basically why I'm using assets. It's for learning and trying to explain the engine and its functionalities with us. So yeah, good stuff. I would actually like to see your idea on the group and see what you guys are doing. Who else is working on something? Um, I think I haven't spoken to Ngozi yet. I noticed you were in the last class, but I did not get to meet you. So okay, awesome. All right, Ngozi, can you unmute yourself and let us know what you've been up to? Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening. Happy Sunday.
Time I wish you guys. Sorry, I haven't been attending classes all the while. I've just been
Okay.
occupied with a lot of
Yeah, that's
yeah.
understandable.
Um,
Yeah.
not to me from that henceforth, because I feel the class is quite educating and enlightening, and I see myself learning a lot from here. I'm into UIUX or do at the moment.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
So
Um. Okay. I think since you were not in the first few classes, I guess you're following the videos on YouTube then.
yes, yes, and I'm about doing my assessment too. So I'm going to be dropping my assessment. I hope I'm not late too.
Well, there's usually a deadline for the assessment, but since everyone has a logical or at least logical excuse for what's up, some of you also had issues getting VS Code running, and so it's understandable. So
Yes,
yeah, if you can turn in your assessment along with the new one, that would be awesome. But yeah, nice hearing from you.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Emmanuel, what's up?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. What's up?
I'm fine, thank you. Um, I haven't really started any project, and I wasn't in yesterday's class due to some cogent reasons. I think I told um I don't know the name of the lead handler of this stuff. I think
Oh,
is
okay. Master Richie. Yeah.
yes, yes. So I told him about it yesterday, so
Okay.
I couldn't join yesterday's class. So I'm not really sure what we're really talking about here. To be honest, I really don't know what we're talking about since I wasn't in yesterday's class. So I was just hoping on following up later on the lessons I missed.
Okay. All right. So, okay, I think yeah, I will be having the videos up within the week, so you can catch up with everything you've missed. But thank you for still joining the class, irrespective of missing yesterday's class. So we started off with developing in Unity, coding C Sharp in Unity, and making use of the Unity engine to get a project up and running. And then we've been able to start working on a an endless runner type game. Okay, so using Unity assets. All right, since we don't have the time to download or the time to jump into Blender and create assets by ourselves. So we're creating a simple endless runner game. All right. So um, that should help us, get started with simple things in Unity, like the animator using Unity's a bit of Unity's physics and a couple of other things, So just to get like a simple game going. So that's what we started with. So today, I want us to continue from where we stopped. Okay, you guys can add iterations and whatever it is from here, but I just want to get us started with everything you need. Okay, this is not the entirety of game development. This is just introduction and the basics, more or less. I cannot cover the entirety of game dev. Even I haven't covered the entirety of game dev, so it's more or less like a personal decision to go on from here. So, but today let's start working on other things. On our schedule, we're supposed to start working on moving the game, um, getting the game Android ready. Okay, so we're supposed to start building to Android today. All right. So, but before we do that, let's finish up on what the game looks like currently. Okay. So let's start working on different aspects that we've not touched in the game. So now you would notice that in games you have a um simple menu before you start a game. Alright? There's usually a simple menu before the game starts. Okay, so we are going to start working on UI, putting together a simple UI. Alright, and then from there we would start working on the conditions to end the game, restart the game, and so on and so forth. So let's work on a simple UI. Okay, let's work on a simple menu. Right, so let's go to our scenes and create a menu scene. Okay, so the menu scene, sorry, the menu scene is going to lead us to the game scene. Immediately we click um, on this play game. So let's create a menu scene. All right, let's create a menu scene. So double click to create the scene, and then yeah, we have our freshly created menu. We can download. So let's get assets from the asset store for the menu. Okay, so simple. Let's get a simple menu UI. Let's get a simple menu UI. You can use Figma to design your menu elements, your UI elements, and then work with it from there. But I can't start sitting down to use Figma at the moment, so I'm just going to download a free menu pack from the asset store, and we should be up and running. Let's see. Let's just say UI and see if we can find nice looking free UI. Okay. So what the UI is going to just help us to do is I think this looks nice, 2D casual. So add to assets. So this is just going to be for our play end game, and then just simple things that we need. So yeah, just simple things that we need in the game. Oh, what's going on? So this is the 2D UI HD. All right, so yeah, opening Unity. So you can just navigate to your package manager and search for the assets. So we would install, or we would import, we would download and import the UI, and then set up a simple menu scene, and then we'll go back to the game and then also create a menu to pop up when the game ends. Okay, so if probably you get maybe you've run out of lives or you get hit by one of the obstacles, the game ends, and then we'll put in sounds and see how we can cover up from there. And I'll show you how to build out to Android. Okay, so yeah, that's what we will be covering today. Creating, preparing for Android, building for Android, more or less. So adding all the um, extra steps and then building to Android. Okay, so where is our 2D casual? All right, so this is this is basically everything we would be working with. So if we look at this, let's quickly look at this. We would see we see all the parts that we need. So this is a very simple PNG file. This is a very simple PNG file that contains images. So we can use these images to pause the game, play the game, move forward, do a whole lot of things. And these are buttons that we can use. These are buttons that we can use. So if we complete a level, we can add all these different things. So these are the elements we'll be working with. So now let me quickly show you guys. Let me quickly show us the different things that we need to set up before bringing in the menu. Okay, so let's go to the game scene. Okay, go to the camera. All right, so we're not going to have anything much going on here. So let's change this. So on the camera, we'll change this from skybox to solid color so that the background will be empty. And then choose a very subtle color. If you don't have anything in your background, you can just choose a soft color or something that looks nice. So let's go for this soft blue, soft sky blue looking color, something bright. Okay, something like that. And then put just simple thing in the background. Let's go to the um, RPG. No, not that. To the character pack and drag in the character. Okay, go to prefabs and then mobile and then bring in the character here. So the character is way over here. So go to the scene, bring the character closer to the camera, and then let's try to zero out the character for now. And then bring in the character here. So the character should be somewhere close. So we want to create a very simple menu scene with the character. So let's make the character stay at an angle, right? And then we'll build the menu around the character. Let's say 200, okay? And then create a new, so go to the mini endless runner, create a new, so create a new animator, okay? So animator controller, and call it menu controller. Okay, so we want to add an animation to the character. So in order to add animation to the character, you need to have a character, an animation controller. So drag the animator controller to the controller slot in the animator. You'll find the animator when you open up the character. So every character comes with an animator. If you don't see the animator, or should come with an animator, if you don't see the animator, you can add the animator components, just by adding components, and then you can just add components and then search for animator. You'll see animator here. But since we already have an animator, it won't let us add another one. So you can only have one animator in the um, animator in the inspector. Okay, so let's just rename this to player. Okay, so that is the player. Save. Try as much as possible to save, so you won't lose anything. And then open the menu controller. Look for the animations. Okay, and then let's just make the character do a simple wave. Okay, let's make the character wave every single time. This is pickup. We had a wave animation somewhere. Yeah, you just search for the wave animation. Okay, this is walk wave. Okay, so yeah, this is the wave animation. Okay, so if you can see this, you can see the character will just be waving in the menu. Just wave, just to add a bit of spice to this. You should drag that animation into the animator controller, and then anytime we play the game, okay, anytime we play the game, the animator in the menu, the character will just do a simple wave for us. Just to have something interesting going on. So just like that. Okay. But we need this you need that to loop. Okay, so go to the animation again and then check loop time. Okay, so this loop time will make sure that the character will keep looping through that animation. Okay, so let's say you need like a running animation and you want player to like keep doing that animation. You can always make sure to have loop time checked and then apply when you change anything to the animation. Okay, so this pick up something. So when you need it to loop, always make sure to include loop. So aside that, let's do something else interesting. Go to your Polycity Pack prefabs and then floor. Go to one of the roads and then drag the road into the scene. All right, and then bring it underneath the player. Let's zoom in here. Okay, so bring it underneath the player. Let it just be at the player's feet. Okay, and then just give it something like this. Go back to the game. Yeah, let the player be on a platform. Okay, yeah, just to add something nice, and then drag a building to the back of the player just for aesthetic, and position this properly. So just make sure the player has something good going on here. So okay, so this is what it. Nah, let's not use this building. Let's use something interesting, and then we'll just jump into working on the actual game itself. All right, so something like that. Just to add, yeah, we need a building. Just do something nice, yeah. So just add something simple to spice up the environment a little. Okay, so have something to spice up the environment a tad. Okay, so we can just add a few things to the environment and then see how things look from there. So I'm just trying to make sure the menu is not boring. Okay, so yeah, I think this works for us. This works just nicely. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so let me brighten these up a little. Not too much. So play around with that and then see the results you get. So environment, and then make sure everything is inside your environment game object. Okay. Now, in order to create UI in Unity, when you have your UI components, okay, when you have your UI components, yeah. you can um, start bringing in the components, but you can't drag them directly into the scene. You need to create what you call a canvas. Okay, so you go to right click on the hierarchy, navigate to UI, and then create a canvas. So your canvas is all the way down here in the UI drop down. So this canvas is what allows you to put together a put together like a menu or your UI elements into the scene. Okay, if you have images in the scene, they are just going to be, like conventional sprites. Okay, but if you want a sprite or an image to be recognized by Unity as a UI elements, like your user interface, you need to have them as part of your canvas. Okay, so now that we've created a canvas, okay, let's set up the canvas. So quickly, we'll just make sure that the canvas, go to the inspector. In the canvas scaler, make sure the UI scale mode is set to scale with screen size, so that no matter what phone, no matter what device you're using, it would maintain the scale of your UI. All right. So the let's use a very good scale reference. Okay. Um, we can use the um, let's say an Android kind of look. So the one way you can get one is, you can set up a very good scale size that you would want to use. But let's use something like 720. Let's make it 720p and 1280. So the width would be 720 and the height would be 1200. Okay, so that should work for us since we're using 9 by 16. And then let's start putting together the components that would work as our UI. So we need the name of the game. Okay, so let's create a text. Okay, so go to UI and navigate to text. You can go to legacy and then add a text. Okay, so let's name the text game name. Okay, so game name, and you notice that the text is small here. So go to the inspector and you can increase the font size. Okay, you can increase the font size of that, and then increase the size of that. So you can go to the canvas. So you can find the canvas in the main scene. You can see that this is the canvas. So if you set it to 2D on the toolbar, you can set it to 2D so that you can focus on working on that. Okay, then go to the text, which is our game name, and increase this. So this space is what we need to increase. Okay, so we can increase this space and then increase the font size. Okay, so I think this font size is good. Let's look at it. All right, that makes sense. And then align it properly. So you can go to the alignment and center everything out just like this. Okay, you can center everything out just like this. Switch to W and then bring the game name somewhere here. All right. So let's just say endless runner, something like that. Okay. So endless runner, make it bold. All right, and then change the color to something nice. I don't know. This works. You can bring in fonts, add whatever it is you need to add to make it look better. Okay, switch to T and then scale it up a little bit, to give it more space. And then we can always increase the font size. So endless runner. Okay, so all we need to do now, since we have the endless runner text, we need a button to play. So we need two buttons, play and quit. Okay, so we need the button to play the game and another button to quit the game. So go to canvas. Okay, um, s- go to UI and then button. Okay, so you can get to legacy and then button, and then call it play button. So, so you can call that play button, and then go back to your scene and scale up this play button W, and then drag your play button all the way down. Then you go back and see where your play button is. So that's too low. So okay, you have your play button there. So instead of using this boring white default sprite, look for an interesting um, UI elements from the pack you downloaded, or maybe your Figma file, and then replace it with that. Okay, okay, this looks good. So this element here, so you can select your play button, drag this, and then slot it in there. So it becomes that button. You can see that's our button now. And then you can change, there's a button name there. So you can change the name of that button, increase the size, and then put play. Okay, make it bold, and then you can change color to white. Okay, for that. So every button, sometimes the button comes with, the default button comes with uh, a text element with it. So we can duplicate this button. Okay, duplicate is Control D. Change the name to quit, and then button. Okay, and close that off. Go back to your scene and then drag this button down so that we have the quit button right underneath it. Go to the text and change the text to quit. Okay, you can also change the color of the button to something red. Okay, and then we have a simple button UI here, play and quit. If you want to, you can have an image, or you can have, yeah, you can have an image, okay, right there, and say, let's say settings. Let me show you how to manipulate different UI elements. So settings, okay. So we can take these settings, all right, on the canvas, and then put it to the edge here. If you look at most games, they usually have like a settings icon at the edge, or a settings button. Okay, so look for an icon that looks like settings, okay, and then switch it for that, okay, or depending on what your game uses, can't find a settings button, so that's coins. Okay, button, price of one. Okay. Hmm. All right, so we don't have like a settings button. Okay, this can work as a settings button. So click on settings. Okay, forgot what it was. So I think this. Okay, this one. All right, so just drag and drop in there, and then we'll have the sort of settings. So you can have that as settings. Let's reduce it just a tad bit. Let's make it 50 by 50. Hope it's not too small. Okay. Uh, Looks good. Let's increase it just a little bit. 70 by 70. Okay, so 70 by 70. So if you want to change an image, if you want to make an image a button, you can just add the button component to that image. So select the canvas element, okay, the image, add component, and then search for button and add button. Okay, that way it looks for input and then it becomes a button automatically. All right. So now that we've done that, let's make these buttons functional. Okay, let's make these buttons do something. Okay, so we want display button to take us to our menu, our game scene. Yeah, our game scene. And we want this quit button to quit the game for us. Okay. And then settings button would lead us to settings menu. All right. So we will be able to. Okay. Hopefully the internet goes back on a bit. All right. I can reconnect in a minute.
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah, I
you.
can hear you.
Okay, network is disturbing, and so he lost his connection. He will rejoin shortly.
Yeah, I'm back. Can we all hear
Okay,
me?
I
Then
think
let's get.
we should just create a new meeting link. This one will expire in 10 minutes already.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Yeah, let's create a new link and then join that from there. Sorry about the internet. Don't know why it keeps going on and off. Okay, so yeah, let's connect with the new link and then we'll work on from there.
I'm working on get on the link.
Okay, awesome. Um, Emmanuel Oluwa. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Sorry.
Oluwafunto.
Oluwa Funto. Don't mind me. I'm a fake Yoruba boy. Uh, so what's up, Emmanuel? This is the first time I'm seeing you in the class. I don't know if you've joined before, but this is the first time listening. How are you doing? And he left the group. Wow, he left the meeting.
Baba Japa. Baba.
Okay. All right. Yeah. While we wait for the new link.
Okay, the link is
Okay.
ready,
Okay. So I'm going to
so
switch
everybody
from.
can join from the chat.
All right. Thank you.
Sorry, I
Okay. Um, I think someone had a question before we went off. I don't know if it was you, Emmanuel. Someone had a question. Okay. Yes, as the others are coming in, we should let me just come back to Unity. If someone else comes in, catch them up so that we won't waste time. All right. Okay. Um, Idris, sorry, your mic is on. Thank you. Okay, so talking about buttons, if we look at the button components in the inspector, just click on any of the buttons, okay, and then look at the inspector, you'd see the button components, okay, and then it has an on-click in events, okay, here. This is more or less signifying or giving us the opportunity to assign a function or tell it to do something when a button is clicked on or a button is tapped on the graph. So this is an on-click event that is assigned to every button. So every button component, every game object that has a button component has an on-click event. So we can add a component. Okay, so you can add an event. So if you wanted to have like multiple functions running, or you want to do multiple things, you can just include multiple on click events. So, but we want it to simply lead us to the new scene and for the play button, and then for the quit button, we want it to quit the game when we are done. So in order to achieve these things, we need to create a script that would um, change our scene, okay, when we click the play button, and then quit the scene when we click the quit button. Quit the game when we hit the quit button. So let's create a new script. Okay, let's go to mini endless runner scripts, and then let's create a menu manager. Okay, so our menu manager is going to be very simple. Okay, it's just going to be doing a bunch of simple um simple functions, okay, for us, play game, quit game, and so on and so forth. So let's quickly do that. Okay, so here we are in the menu scene, or in the menu manager script. All right, so let's add this. So in order to work with the Unity scene, we need to import a Unity namespace. Okay, so we use the another namespace is going to allow us control what scene we go to. Okay, so Unity engine dot scene management. So if you don't have this imported into the scene, into the script, you won't be able to manipulate the scenes in script. Okay, so now let's create a public, let's create a string, call it public string, and then call it game scene. Okay, so this game scene is what we're going to use to know what scene we are going to. Okay, there are two ways for you to navigate through scenes. Okay, you can either use the scene build index or the scene name. Okay, so you can use one of the two. Oh my. Ah, This AI of mine keeps going past me. All right, so let's create functions. You remember when we were using, when we were learning how to write functions in Unity? Okay, well, let's create a method. Okay, let's create a method for our on-click events. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to assign that method to the on-click events. Okay, so let's say public. So mm, let's say public void. Okay, this is a function, so we're not returning anything. And then let's say play. We want it to play the game. Okay, when we hit play the game. Okay, so that's the function we want the method to do. And we want another function to quit the game. So let's say quit game. Okay, so that's quit game. And then let's create another function when we want to move from the game to the menu. So let's say public void main menu. Okay, so yeah, main menu. All right, so in order to get all of these going, okay, we're going to assign, we're going to give different names now. So string, public string. So let's get the main menu name, main, so menu C. Okay, I think someone has a question. Okay. All right, Idris, what's up?
I'm good. I just wanted to ask, what's the difference between the public and the private method,
Okay, so
that function method identifier?
yeah, method. Okay. So the private method means it's only accessible within that script. Okay. So it's only accessible within the script. So every method, every variable, every data type that you declare as private can only be accessed within that class, only within that class. All right. But for public methods, the method, or maybe you have a public variable, a public array, a public list, a public dictionary. If it's public, it can be accessed anywhere within the project. Okay, so for those that are private, it can only be accessed within the script, within that class alone. Okay, so if I set anything as private here, you can only use them within this class, within the confines of this class. All right, they can only be used within the confines of this class. Okay, but if it is public, okay, I can come to my player, okay, and use and declare something like this. So if I let's do something simple just to explain that. If I say if I have the menu manager, if I declare the menu manager here and say manager, yeah, and I want to use something from the manager. So this is the menu manager. Okay, let's say I want to get this game scene. Okay, it's public. That means I can access it even in my player manager, in my player script. So manager, see, I can even change manager.game scene equals let's see, this is a string, so you have to put the quotes. So let's see game scene. Let's say the scene is called game scene. So you can actually do this here. But let's revert this, let's make this private. So if this is private, so if this is private and we save and go back to the player, we can see that immediately it gives us an error. And if we hover on this, we can see that menu manager.game scene is inaccessible due to protection level. So the protection level that game scene has is that it's private. Okay, it has a private declaration. That means it's only accessible within the menu manager. You can't access it anywhere else. That's why it's VS Code is telling us that the game scene is inaccessible because it's private. It's private just to menu manager. But if we change this back to public, that means anywhere within the project we can access this. It corrects that error and we can use it there. Do you understand? So a private variable
Yeah.
method or whatever can be accessed anywhere else in the project, but only private variables methods can be used within the script or class in itself. Okay, so now for the, I think we're all good. All right. So for play game, in order for this to work, we need to call a function. So that is scene manager. So we need to, for when we play the game, we need to move to the game scene. So scene manager dot load scene. Okay, so we want it to load in the game scene, and we're going to use the name that we're going to be putting for the game scene. Okay, so scene manager, if you want to change the scene, okay, you use scene manager dot load scene and then assign the name of the scene, or you can assign the build index of the scene. I want to show you what a build index is immediately we close off from here. Okay, so if you want to go to the main menu, all right, so we switch to the menu scene. All right, the menu scene. But if you want to quit a game, if you want to like close the entire game, right, what you need to do is get the game's um, application itself. And in C Sharp, Unity C Sharp, it's easy as easy as doing application dot quit. So that would automatically close the game. It will quit the game itself. So you're not quitting from a scene or from anywhere else. You want to close the entire application. Okay, you want to close the entire game. So application.quit would automatically quit the game. So quit the player application. So that's what it does. Okay. So these are the simple menu scripts, menu functions, methods that we'll be using. So quickly, I'm going to um, get this to work. So it's compiled in a minute there, and then we will get it to work now. And then you see, by the time you play the game, we'll be able to move between scenes and then work on. So go to the canvas. Okay, since the canvas holds all of the other menu components or elements, drag the menu manager to drag the menu manager to the canvas. What's the name of our scenes? Name, so game scene is called game scene, menu scene is called menu scene, and then write it there, game scene, and then menu scene. And for this to actually work, we need to put these scenes in a build in our build settings. So go to file, okay, at the upper left corner of your project or your editor. Go to menu scenes. So scenes in build. So if these scenes are not in the scenes in build, it won't work. So this is where the scene manager comes to call the scenes. They have to be in scenes in build. So drag and drop these two scenes. So that's the game scene and the menu scene. Put the menu scene on top because the menu scene is the first scene you would work with. So you can arrange these in order. So it's the menu scene and then the game scene. So now if we pay attention to this, we see these scenes have a number on them. So you can see the menu scene has a number 0 to the side and the game scene has a number 1 to the side. These are their build indexes. Okay, So the menu scene has a build index of 0, while the game scene has a build index of 1. If you wanted to call them, if you wanted to call them by their build index, you can just say 0. Okay, but for game scene is 1. Okay, it would call it based on the build index. You can see scene build index. Okay, so if you wanted menu scene, it will be just like that. Okay, so we're calling them based on their build index, but we want to use their names because let's say we have 100 levels or 100 scenes. Getting their build index might be complicated while coding an entire thing. So you can just have them. Let's say you have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. You can just quickly name them easily, or something that you can easily remember. Oh, I want you to go to level 15. You can just easily type in level 15. So game scene. Okay, or if you don't want to go this route, since we already know the name, you can just go game scene. Okay, I think we should just do that since we don't have so many scenes, and then we can say menu scene. But let's say you have like an array of scenes. Okay, so you can say something like all scenes, and then equals to name string. Okay, and then you can just create all the names. So the first one would be game scene. Second one can be menu scene, and so on and so forth. So you can just bring in here and say all scenes brackets 0. So that would automatically open the first one, which is the game scene, and then you can do the same thing here. Well, I'm just showing you how we can, different ways we can go about that. Okay, so we're not using this. Let's just work directly with the names. So the first one is the game scene, since we want to play the game. Second one is the menu scene, and then quit. Right? So now, how do you make this work in Unity? Remember I said every button, or I showed you that every button has an on-click event. So we're going to add that method. We're going to call that method in our on-click event. And how are we going to do that? Very simple. Okay. In our on-click event, go to your button, go scroll all the way to your on-click event, create a new one. So to create this on-click event, drag the canvas into that slot because the canvas has the menu manager here. Okay, go to the play button. Since it has the menu manager, we can go to the function. Currently it says no function, that means it's not doing any function. You see the menu manager here. Okay, and the menu manager has our public method, which is play game. Okay, play game. So click on play game. So what we've just done is tell this button, the play button, that when we click it, we want you to go to the menu manager and play the game. So when it goes to the menu manager and does the play game function, this is what will happen. Scene manager dot load scene game scene. So when we click the button, we're telling it to play or load up the game scene. When we go to the quit button, drag the canvas. Oh, we've not created this. Make sure you create a slot, drag the canvas into that slot, go look for the menu manager and look for quit game, and then quit the game. Okay, so that would quit the game. So if we play the game now, you would see a really, or like a subtly interesting. So our character is waving, just waves at us casually. Then he keeps doing that until we play the game. So if we click on play, you see it takes us to the game scene immediately, and then we can start playing the game. Although that was too fast. Okay, that was too fast. So we can slow it down just a tad bit. Okay, just a tad bit. Let me see. How do we? Okay. So in order to slow this down, okay, we can do something simple. Just create a on play game. Okay. So I want to teach us something else if we want to slow down a function. Um, if you don't want it to, if you don't want a function to run instantly, you can create another function. Make this one private. Okay, because we don't need this to be everywhere. We just need it here because this is the only place that would call it. Okay, and use the invoke method. Okay, so this invoke method, what it does is it invokes the method in a given time in seconds. Okay, so you tell it what method to call and how long it will call that method for. So we want it to, so you can put the method in a string. Okay, copy and paste, and then let's wait for a second, all right, before it loads the scene. Okay, that way it will load the scene after a second after we click the button. Okay, it will load the scene a second after we click the button. So let's compile the script, and then we can so play. So we have our character, and then hit play to wait a second, and then there we go. It's running slow for some reason. So it waited a second, and then it opened the game. If you don't want the player to start immediately, you can also use that. Okay, you can create a delay, wait for a second before the game starts running. All right, so you can use that to give a sense of a bit of delay. This is running slow. All right, so let's go to the game scene. Okay, so we've kind of dealt with the menu scene. All right, so this is very simple. You can add more things to it if you want to. You can add coins or whatever. But for now, we're only going to use that. So let's create, since we're now in the, okay, since we're now in the menu scene, let's create a new canvas for the menu. All right. So we created a new canvas for the menu. Let's set up the canvas. Go to the canvas scaler, scale with screen size. So we're using 720 by 1280. So this is 720p for your phone. Now drag and drop the menu manager also to the um menu. All right. Now we're going to do something a little bit different, right? A little bit different. So create go to the UI and create a panel. Okay, so create a panel, all right, and call this game over panel. So when the game is over, like when we've lost the game, maybe we hit an obstacle. After this, I'm going to show you how to set up game over conditions. Maybe we hit an obstacle or hit three obstacles. Maybe you're using lives. After you've hit three obstacles, you end the game or whatnot. However, it is you are checking for your end game. We can do that. Okay, so let's just make this a little bit blue. Okay, and then make it more evident. Okay, yeah, something like this. And now we're going to add components here. So let's add a text first off. Let's add a text. So UI, legacy, and then text. You can either use this text or text mesh pro, but I for some reason prefer the text because I don't know, I feel it's easier for me to control. So go to the menu, hit T, and then enlarge this. All right, and then increase the font size somewhere here. If you increase the font size too much, it will go off the screen, and you don't want that. So just right about there, and then call this say game over, and then put the game over in a red color. All right, let's see how that looks. Game over, and then uh, so can rename this to game. So game over text. All right, and then W, and then bring the game over text somewhere here, and then keep checking the game scene to see how it looks in the game scene. And then let's create a button. So UI legacy button. You can always use your TextMesh Pro button, but you know. So let's say you want two buttons, replay button, and then duplicate that. No, don't let us duplicate that. Let's edit it first. So T, and then drag that. Okay, and then let's go to our UI. So 2D casual UI, and select this button icon, drag into the source image, and then that becomes it. Take it down, open the menu, open the text, and we so that will be replay. Okay, so bold, white, and then go to it, increase the font size like that. Let's see. Okay, so I think we can bring it down a notch, just a little bit somewhere here. Okay, so replay, and then duplicate it, and then do something like quit to menu. Okay, so just go back and say main space menu. All right, so W, and then drag it down a tad bit here. So let's say quit to menu, to quit to menu. Or let's leave it at main menu. Okay, and then you can change the color to whatever you want. Oh, sorry, this is the so you change the menu to change the color something whatever, something like this. Make it blue, I guess, just for diversity, you know. So yeah, you can have something like that. But for now, they are not doing anything. Okay, as usual. Uh, create an on-click event, drag your canvas into that slot, and then go to the menu manager. And then we need this to go to the main menu. So we already created a main menu script or a main menu method. So we just call that method using that event. Okay. So when the game is over, we can switch to the main menu. Okay, if we want to, and if we want to replay, so we don't have a replay method yet. Okay, so we can just drag the main menu and go back to the script and create a replay method. Okay, so in order to replay, so let's create a public void replay game. All right. So we want to. So all we're going to do is restart that scene when the game is over. Okay. When the game is over and we want to replay the game, all we're just going to do is restart the scene. Okay. We can just do load scene and then get the so let's say scene manager dot get active scene. So get active scene dot name. So the scene we are currently in, right? We want it to reload that scene. So we'll get the scene. So when we want to get the active scene, or we can just do something like this. So scene dot okay. So scene no oh okay. A scene manager. Oh, I'm sorry, we have to call that outside. So we can say scene. Okay, you can create a scene and then call it active scene. All right. And then say scene manager dot get active scene. All right. And then you can just say active scene dot name if you want it to be a little bit cleaner and showcase that you have more lines of code or something. So you can do that. All right. So that is one way to get the active scene. Okay, and then reload that active scene. So what you're just doing is getting the name of the active scene, which this would help us do. So this method, scene manager dot get active scene, will tell Unity, okay, I need the active scene, the scene that's currently open. Give me the name, which is the game scene. Or if you have the name of the scene you want to reload, you can just put it there. And in our case, it's still the same game scene. This would work just fine. I just wanted to show you, just in case you are not in the game scene, probably you somehow you switched and you want to just reload the active scene. This is how you would go about it, right? So that is our replay game method, and that is what we are going to call now. So immediately after this, we are going to be rounding up um, for this, and then I'll show you how to build to Android and test the game. Although I would share with you guys a swipe manager because on reviewing the swipe manager, it's the script has a whole lot of vector mathematics and touch inputs, variables that I might not be able to explain to you guys now because of how I don't want to say complex it is. You're literally calculating mathematics and the time it will take to calculate the maths behind screen positions and then um, dead zones and swipe booleans and all of those functionalities might take a bit. So I'll just share it with us and maybe eventually, maybe next class. This week we're supposed to be reviewing a few things, but maybe next class I would explain how that entire thing works. Calculate it for us and send. All right, voila for who no study maths. Yeah, it well game mathematics for game dev is quite interesting if you actually sit down with it. It's not like your conventional maths, but it has its problems too. Consult ChatGPT. Well, the thing is, if you don't understand the if you don't understand what is going on, ChatGPT is just going to give you what you're supposed to do, but you need to understand how you are going to work with it. Okay, so but yeah, it's interesting. I will open it up here. I have the script somewhere so that I wouldn't have to be recreating some particular scripts. I made all the scripts here. So there are some really complex scripts that I racked my brain on. So instead of having to rack my brain on it again, I just saved them. So this is the swipe manager. I'll be sharing it with us very soon, and then you guys would see so how that works. So this is what you need to swipe left, swipe right, swipe down. So this is so you have to get the swipe delta, float x, delta, swipe delta x, swipe delta y, absolute values of mathematical functions, and vectors and all of that, the touch length, drag, input touches and all of that. So that we won't have to go through what I went through, I will share it with us and you guys would have it. And we'll just be using this script in the project. So when you swipe left, it would actually swipe left. When we swipe right, it will swipe right. So I've done all of that for us so that we won't have to do that. But I will explain how everything works eventually. But this is the script. It looks how many lines? A little over 100. So that is what goes on with that. So okay, the replay button. So now that we have that, let's assign it. So replay game, and then quit to menu. We already have main menu. Okay, so right now this game over panel is just open, but we don't want it to be open. We want it to only be open when the game is over. So how do we know when the game is over? So let's start creating conditions to know when the game is over. So let's go back to our scripts and go to the player script. Okay, so let's go to the player script. So I want it to work like this. All right, so let's give the player 3 chances before the player dies. Okay, let the player have 3 chances to hit the obstacle before the player dies. So let's create a public integer. I'll call that let's say player health. Player health makes more sense. So player health. Okay. So want to give the player 3 chances. So player health equals to 3. So on start, the player is given um, a health value of 3. And then let's go to the obstacle. Remember we did something interesting with the obstacles. No, I told us something interesting about Unity's um, default methods. So we're going to be using one of them. So we want to, every time we collide, every time the player collides with an obstacle, we want to get that collision information and then take that information, yeah, and subtract one of the health values until the health value equals 0. So let's do that. So in order to do that, we will do this void. Okay, so there are 2 ways to have a private variable, a private, you can declare a private variable by just declaring the variable or declaring the method. Okay, and you can also do that using private. Okay, but it just saves more space and all to just have it as private. But if you want to be safe and make sure that, oh, in your heart of hearts I declared the private method, you can just put private in front of it. It doesn't really change much to the best of my knowledge. At least nothing has broken when I did not include private. So, but anytime I want it to be public, I always make sure to set it as public. So now we need the on collision enter. And then the on collision enter would need collision and then other. So what we are doing here is, I think I explained this earlier, but I'm just going to tell us what's going on. So we're checking when the obstacle collides with something, it should take in that collision data, yeah, and give us information about that collision data. Okay, so instead of doing this, let's just say collision. Okay, I usually like putting it as other because that's Unity's default, or that's how Unity likes to use it. In the Unity documentation, it's collision other. or we can have it as collision. So what we want to do is check the collision data. So within this collision, we can do collision dot, okay, we can get the game object, okay, that we collided with. All right, so we can get the game object that we collided with, and then check for the tag of that game object if the game object is the player. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to tag a game object. Okay, so now we check the collision and then we compare the tag. Okay, so use the compare tag method and then let that tag be player. So the obstacle can collide with anything within the game, within the scene, but we only need to know if the obstacle collided with the player. All right. So it's only the only thing that we need, the only thing that makes any sense to us or that is valuable to us at this instance is when the obstacle collides with the player. Right. So what do we want to happen when the obstacle collides with the player? So we want to we want to take the collision data, check, get the game object, and get the components. Okay. So what components do we need? We need a player script. So if we remember when I remember how I said we can declare a we can get a component from any part. We can just say player, we can declare it player and then player equals the collision data, the game objects, and then the player script. Why are we doing all of this? We want to be able to get this player script, and because the player health is inside the player script. And to get that, we need the collision data because that's the only thing that we get. And then the game object that has that collision that we just made collision with, and then we get the component which is the player. Hope that makes sense. Okay, and then we pass that player component to the player. Okay, so this would be the new player, and then we can say player dot player health minus minus. What does this mean? It just means we are subtracting one unit value from the player health. Okay, one unit value from the player health. But let's check something else. Let's make sure that the player health even has a value. Okay, so player health, if player dot player health, okay, is not equals to zero, okay, because there are sometimes when you would have hit the player and then the player's health is now zero. So we only want to subtract so that we won't be getting a negative value. We only want to subtract from the player health when the player health is not equal to zero. Or you can just say greater than zero. So when it's greater than zero, subtract it. If it's equals to zero, don't subtract. If it's less than zero, don't subtract. So it's still synonymous to not equals to zero. Okay, not equals to zero. All right. So let's move on. So this way we subtract from the player's health. Now, let's also check in the update function. Okay, in the updates. If player health, okay, is less than or equals to zero, then let's do game over. Okay, so the game will be over when player health is equals to zero. So how do we make player health equals to zero? How do we make the game end? Okay, so we want to do two things. We want to freeze the entire game, let everything in the game stop working, and then pop up the game over screen. All right, so we stop the game and bring the game over screen. All right, so let's do let's do something interesting too. Let's do something interesting. Let's make the player fall, like a let's make it do a fall animation and then do that. So we need to get the animator. So we're not going to be calling the animator anywhere else. So let that be private. And then you can get the animator component using the start method. And we can do that with our get component. So since the component is the same as the script, we can just go straight ahead and say get component animator. Remember the animator is on the player component. So I just say get animator and then it will get the component there. So what we want to do three things. Play a dead or like a fall to death animation. So this is one very good use of the comments, using comments. And then freeze the game scene. And finally pop up the game over objects or game over menu. All right. So there, there we go. So now let's add a game over menu. I don't want to add the game over menu to the I don't want to add the game over menu to the screen. Okay. So let's do this. Okay. Let's go to the menu. So this is the menu manager. Let's add a public game object. So like I said, every object in Unity is known as a game object. And then we can have the game over menu here in the menu manager, since the menu manager controls everything that has to do with the menu. Okay, and then go back to our player, and then we can call that. Okay, we can call that in the menu manager. So let's say manager, and we can call that in the game in the so this my AI keeps reading my mind. So the menu manager, so if you want to get the menu manager, you can just use find object of type menu manager. Since the menu manager is not a component of the player, okay, you can call it from the scene using find object of type menu manager. So what this will do is it will look for a menu manager script or a menu manager object in the scene and then assign it to this manager data type or manager um, object. So now we have the animator, we have the manager, and then we need to start putting everything together. So how do we do this? Okay, so for the animator to work, we need to do animator dot set trigger, and then the trigger we want it to set is let's say dead or player died, or let's just say death. Okay, so death. And then in order to freeze the game, we will just use Unity's time. Okay, so we want to freeze the game, meaning time would stop. All right, so we just say time dot time scale. Okay, so the time scale will just equal 0. Okay, so if the time scale is 0, okay, the scale at which time passes. So if the time scale is 0, meaning there is no change in time. So the time is not increasing, time is not decreasing, time is just set to 0. Okay, time is just set to 0. All right. So now, all right. So yeah, this is what we are going to do. But no, let's not do that. So yeah, let's do this. So we want to do manager dot show game over. Okay. For those of you who know, I'm using a black box AI for auto completion. So that is what has been disturbing the 10 minutes. Wow, already. Okay, wow. Game will be over when the player health is zero. One is already over even before my health goes to zero.
Um, can we round up in a 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Six.
Okay. All right. Let's do
Yeah.
that. Okay. So I'm just going to be quick here. So I'm copying this, move to menu manager, and create the public void show game over. And then for the game over, what we want to do is let this come up. So game over menu. All right. So game over menu dot set active and then true. Okay, game over dot set active true. So in order to even see the player's health, we need to use the UI. Okay, so using Unity engine, sorry, I'm rushing, the UI. So this UI namespace allows us to deal with everything that involves the UI. All right. So we can just say public. We need the text to show the player health. So text and then let's say health text. Okay. So in the update method, what we want to do is health text will equal player health. So this means, okay, yeah, health text dot text would be the player health. And this is an integer while the player health takes in a string. So for this to work, you need to use the to string function. Okay, so this would convert the player health to a string from an integer to a string easily. Okay. Okay. Why is this frozen? Jeez. Okay, sorry, froze there for a bit. So yeah, so this is what we will do. So in order for us to get this trigger to work, copy the def, go back to Unity. So we can go back to Unity, let this compile for a minute, and then we would include that in the animator. Since the animator is the one controlling the animation, we need to tell the animator to set a trigger when the player dies or when the game is over. So it does the game over and then the game ends. Okay, so that is what will happen. Oh wait, um, hmm, I don't want the time scale to. I don't want time scale to go off immediately. So that we have enough time to see the player die and then end the game, let's do let's do a quick let's do a quick um so let's say void player died. I just realized that that would automatically stop everything from running. So instead of doing this, let's just do this. Okay, and then use our invoke. Okay, so invoke, then so that's player died, and then after 1 second, let's just say 2 seconds, 1.5 in the middle. Yeah. So player died. All right, so that works. So now we are going to, sorry, oh, that's done finally. So we are going to put everything together quickly and see how that works in the game. So I want everything we've done to compile. So if you have any questions, you can you can relate them to the group, and I would explain what it's all doing. So we need a way to see the player health. So let's just duplicate this text, okay, and then bring it outside, and then go to the scene, and then put this text to the edge here, or you can just come here and put it there, and then call that player health. Next week, we'll look on more about how to set up your UI properly, and then would brush up on the UI to make it look better. So player health, okay. So we can just set player health is 3, and then that would be good. So yeah, so that's the player health. Let's add a UI element so that we can know that's the player health. So sprites, I think there's one health button somewhere. There was like a heart button. Okay, yeah, there we go. Uh, yeah, we need an image. Forgot. So image, and then make the image all the way there too, and bring this to the side, and then this. Okay, yeah. So image, and then yeah. So that will be our health button. So health. So put that in there, and then yeah, so we can see our health and our health value. So go to the player, and then you see the health value slots. Drag the player health into there so that we would know the player's health. So when the player health is reducing, we would tell. And then create a tag. Okay, so we have a player tag. Okay, or if you want to create a tag, just go to add tag, then tag, and then create a new tag. All right. So go to the player, tag, and then player. So this way, the player tag here, the obstacle would know the player tag here. And the final thing we need to do is this player death, right? So go to the animator. You can see that the player only has run. Navigate to the character, and then look for the animations, and there should be a death animation. So walk, run, pick up, jump up, float, jump down, idle, walk backwards, run. There's no death animation. Okay, we don't have any death animation. Let's see. All right, let's just use this, I think. Let's just use the, just to show you guys. Okay, let's just use something. All right, and then rename this to,
Less than 2 minutes.
okay, wow. All right,
I think we'll still have to pick the new group, a new meeting.
okay, I think so. Let's just use that to round up, and then I would explain everything in general and then close it.
Can that happen in 15 minutes?
Yeah, it should happen in less than 15 minutes. I just wanted to make sure that we rounded up every single thing and build for our day.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
I will drop the link in the chat, in the group chat.
Okay. All right. So do, yeah, hit me up when that is done. So drag in and change the name to death, and then this would just help us to, so this comes here. All right, get rid of this. Okay. So that we have this, and then it would just go to death, just go to the death animation straight up from there. All right, so yeah, just try to make sure
The
that,
link is the link is in this chat.
all right, let me just copy. Okay, missed the link there. All right. I think I will just join in from here. Meet. Yeah. So, okay. We should be able to conclude in the next 15 minutes, and we are good to go. Why is this taking a bit? Come on, come on. So I think this works. We just need to just need to duplicate this. Okay, are we in? Oh, seriously. All right. All right. Let's just round up here, include the swipe manager, and then see how, yeah, and round up quickly within 10 minutes. Okay. So hopefully everyone can hear me and can see my screen. Let's be moving over now. Okay. Okay, awesome. All right. So, okay, we can create the trigger. We said we told the animator to get a trigger. So we can use, just go to the animator where you have parameters, make sure you're on parameters, then this add button, and then trigger. Since we told it to set a trigger, and then make that trigger the death trigger. Go over to the transition. Okay, we added this transition, and then set the condition to death. Okay, so death. And then when the player dies, it does that, um, to do the whole death trigger thingy. All right. So yeah, that works. So it's okay. Well, it's not dying literally, but we can uh, go to the scene, go to the player, and then just take that of 2D for now to the Windows animations, set it down here, and then we can tweak the animation. Okay, so let's not waste any more time. Go to your scripts. So on the script, I will send over the swipe manager, and then I will add the swipe manager to this. Okay, so we have the swipe manager, right? and then we'll test and see how the game ends. Okay, so we have everything going, and then let this compile quickly. Okay, and yeah, so originally this would be set to false. Go to your canvas and make sure your game over menu is there, and then if we play the game now, we should see that when we collide with the when we collide with this, it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Give me a minute. So prefabs, obstacles, okay, collider. All right, player, player, collider. It has a collider, so why is it not? So obstacles on collision enter, compare tag, player. This works perfectly. So why isn't it working? So let's debug the log and then hit player. So let's know if whether or not it's actually hitting the player, because it's not showing that it's hitting the player. So okay, this is player, which is correct. It's player. So let's make sure it hits the player correctly when the player comes in contact with it. So we just want to make sure that is working. So it's hitting the player, but it's not working. Why? Hmm. Log hit, and to make sure that it's actually working in the first place. Sorry, just doing a quick check, and then from here we'll just move at light speed. Okay, while we wait, I'm just going to put in the okay, let's try it out now and then include the other. Doesn't seem to be doing anything. Why? Okay, let's use the other components. Let's use the other one. That's on trigger enter. For some reason on collision enter is not working. And then this takes in um, collider, then author, then author. So we can do that other compare tag, and we can include. Okay, now let's see. So for this to work, we need on trigger to work, we need a rigid body. So we need a rigid body for on trigger enter to work. So I don't know why on collision enter is giving issues. So set your collider to on collision enter. Let's see what the problem is with the this is this to work perfect. All right. So and then give your player a rigid body and then set your rigid body to not use gravity and then yeah, so you can just do that. Okay, and then put your rigid body somewhere there, so that way it doesn't fall off the map and nothing. Then you can just freeze the rotation because we don't need it to rotate. And then yeah, so let's see now. This is supposed to work. Okay, so yeah, our life is reducing anytime we collide, and then yeah, 0, and then you see game over is not showing over, so let's include game over. So that is how that works. I don't know, so you can see hits player, player died. So that's what's supposed to happen. Okay, so I will just include the swipe manager here. So swipe manager, and then we will see how we can make the swipe manager work. So right now, we let's go back to the game. Make sure the game over is looking correct. It's not showing game over. It's showing only game. So go back to the game over text 2D, and then you can reduce the font size. Yeah, so that game over shows. And then you can see game over, replay, and all of that works. So take this out, and yeah, let's look at this. So okay, yeah. So for the swipe manager to work, let's go back to our player. Okay, on start. So call the swipe manager, and then just say swipe manager. Okay, and then include the swipe manager, and the swipe manager is on the player. So get components swipe manager, and yeah, close that off. So instead of using inputs.get whatever, do this. So it will be swipe manager. So we want this to swipe when we swipe right. Okay, so swipe right, and then I already created a system for it. So swipe manager dot swipe left. So we're swiping right and swiping left. When we swipe right, it moves us plus right, plus the move increment, which moves us to the right. When we swipe left, it does the same for the other side. So all of this is here already calculated, and then we can use either the touch. So we can use the touch inputs, and then we can also use the mouse to do that. So I made sure that we could use the mouse so that we can test in the scene. So immediately we get this working, I would show us how to um, build to Android. Okay, we don't have any sounds yet, so I think the last thing we do is add sounds next week, and then we can start working on building XR. But for now, the assignments that you would have, you can see if I swipe, I'm using my mouse now to swipe. So swipe to the left, swipe to the right. So if I go and collide, one of my health has gone. So I have only 2 health left. Hit again, another one, I have only 1. Swipe. Okay. Next week, we'll just add difficulty to it. So you can see that we can swipe, swipe. And then from there, we can work on projects. So if we die, let's just die now. We see how it pauses and then game over. Okay. We don't have any death animation, so I'll download the death animation before next week, and then we can add a very fancy death animation, sounds, and all of that. So if we replay, it starts the game again. Oh, sorry. So if we replay, we need to, because we froze time, we need to unfreeze time. Okay. So we need to unfreeze time when the game starts. So time scale should be 1. Okay. So when the game starts, time scale should be 1. Right. All right, so now I'm going to show us how to build to Android. Yeah, every other thing works. So when I build to Android, I will then show you, test the game finally, and then I will send the game to the group so that we can try it out. So in order to build to Android, go to File, Build Settings, and you notice that the platform is currently Windows, Mac, and Linux or Linux. Go to Android and switch platform. Okay, it would take a while to import, but I won't do that now. So um immediately you hit the switch platform, it would import, and then it would import all the necessary Android tools for you, and you can build to Android. So let's just test this, hit again, and then die, and then game over. If we replay, see, it continues playing. So we have 3 health every time we restart. 1, 2, 3. Stops, and then game over. So if you go to the menu, it takes us back to the main menu. All right. So that is, let's just put this time scale in the main menu since we keep using the main menu is everywhere. So we can just have that there. So yeah, that more or less covers every single thing for us. Okay, so that is good. Yeah, so that is creating a an endless runner. But for now, we are not moving fast, so you can try and figure out how to make the game more difficult as you go on. Okay, make the players, make the obstacles come faster, make the player move faster, and then maybe do a distance check if you can, and try to see how to, expand on the simple runner that we've created. All right. So if we go and start from the main menu, so when you build the game, this is where you start from. This is where you'd start from. So endless runner. If you want to include any settings, you can create a settings menu or a settings scene. When you click the settings, it's not doing anything now because I don't have any button. I don't have anything. But you can assign a settings menu. Maybe you want sounds or whatever. You can add that. So play, and then leads us into the game. So I lost the health. Swipe, 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 swipe. And let's just die so that we can see. So that dead, replay, and then we can play, died, died, and died, and then go back to the main menu. So that is our simple endless runner. And then quit the game. It won't do anything now because we're in the Unity editor. This is everything we can cover. And then let me just quickly switch to Android, switch platform. So when you switch platform, it would import all the Android development kits, development tools, and then where you see switch, you see build. So you can build it to build out an APK for you, and then you can test the APK. I'll send the APK to the group. I'll create a Google Drive with the APK and the swipe manager so that we can build. So the assignment for the week is replicate this endless runner with the assets that I have provided or that you can get on the asset store. It doesn't have to be this exact one, but try to replicate this endless runner. Create your own, add um, functionalities to yours. Go crazy with everything. You can even look up endless runners online and see how you can do it. But make it as simple as possible. Okay, don't go overboard. Just try to replicate an endless runner and make it, make a fun project with it. This is going to take a while, so if you guys have any questions or confirmations, you can ask. Okay, Odnakachiko has left. So do we have any questions? Idris, Emmanuel. Okay, guys are the only ones
For now, no. It is where we start the dig. Oh no.
here. Okay, all right. So if you're having issues
It
while
is
working on the
already
project,
getting thick. So
what?
It got worse. It got worse.
Nah, no. See, half the time you guys are not going to be working on very complex things. It just seems complex now because you guys are just starting. Very soon you'd be a whole lot balanced. If you keep practicing with code, practicing with Unity, within 3 months, 6 months, you guys would get, you get a whole lot comfortable with it. And as I said, you can always hit us up on the group,
It
ask
could
questions and all of that. And we should all help each
it could
other out.
actually be worse. It should be.
Yeah, it can be.
let's
It's it
let's
can
make it worse.
the only
Like 3D characters,
okay.
the ones that can be deployed for Vision Pro, at least, so that the user experience is very immersive. But we can do better.
sorry, excuse me, sir.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
Emmanuel. Okay. So far, it's just the four of us left, and thanks to everybody who stayed till the end, Idris and Emmanuel.
Emmanuel, yeah, thank you guys so
If
much.
Yes, sir.
if there is an award, I think for punctuality, Idris and Emmanuel deserves that award because
Yeah,